Hey, oh, really? Yeah, Matthew, we're back. I was having connection issues. Yeah, I apologize, guys. It was some technical difficulties. Hey, Tuck, please suck. I appreciate you coming in, man. It's an honor to have you here, man. Awesome, guys. Not sure we don't have a mod in here, so oh, okay. Now we have Karen. Al, you're now a wrench now. You are now a mod, my friend. Yes, Tuck. I'm in Wilcox, Arizona. Eat your broccoli. Go ahead and get that thumbs up. Got 9 in the building. 5 thumbs up. Welcome in, Karen. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome, man. Where'd you work at here? Oh, okay. Right on. No, I think it's the GNS now, the heating and cooling place. Awesome, man. All right, guys. We'll go ahead and get started on chapter 1. Um, it's going to be moccasin, hoof, and wagon tracks. But first, we'll do the introduction. Southeastern Arizona, where the Chiricahuas Mountains, under various names, stretch for 150 miles to the Mexican border, was not part of the United States until the Gadsden Purchase was ratified in 1854. The United States paid Mexico $10 million for land below the Gila River from the Rio Grande to the Colorado River. The railroad route through the region to California was considered the best option, but one senator joked, "Now we should pay Mexico $10 million to take it back." Still some 49ers headed for the gold rush, and noticed forested gashes and distant cliffs, as would California, calling volunteers marching to repel Confederate forces. Early in 1861, Cochise, a leader of the Chiricahuas, was unjustly arrested but escaped. Some of his relatives were hanged and he retaliated. The Civil War loomed. Troops were ordered east and the Butterfield stage stopped running. Cochise and other Apaches raided encroaching miners and settlers even after soldiers returned. He was weary of battle, however, and in October 1872, his friend Tom Jeffords helped negotiate a peace that gave Cochise's band a reservation covering most of their traditional territory, with Jeffords as agent. Okay, we got 10 in the building, guys. Let's go ahead and hit that thumbs up, guys. They still raided, though, what had been their country. Soldiers were sent to quell the raiders. In 1886, Geronimo made his final surrender. All the Chiricahuas who could be found, include scouts who had tracked them down, were shipped by train to Florida. Although Apaches, Apaches, though they loved their homeland, were comparative newcomers. Over 10,000 years before, big game hunters wandered into the valleys surrounding the mountains. As the climate grew hotter and drier, they were followed by people more dependent on wild plants and eventually on farming. Mogollon culture villages thrived in the canyons by AD 1200, but these were abandoned by 1400 because of searing drought. Apaches may have reached the mountains before the gold seeking Spaniards of 1540 passed by. Traces of a Spanish mine have been found. The tireless Jesuit missionary Padre Quino followed the San Pedro River north where it joined San Javier, still in use near Tucson. Spain's most Spain's small frontier garrisons could not defend settlers, mines, and ranches north of Mexico after winning independence in 1820. The raiding plunder was an important part of Apache economy. It left enough livestock to produce a new crop for their next visit. Even before the Apaches were marched to San Carlos, prospectors were venturing into the mountains. In 1879, Stephen Reed built his cabin, now the research station director's home, where the North Fork of Cave Creek joins the main creek. Brannock Riggs chose land near the present Chiricahuas National Monument and the mining camp of Galeyville, mushroomed in 1881. It was frequented by so-called cowboys who rustled cattle from Arizona to southern Mexico and vice versa. Supplying beef to reservation Indians and military posts was profitable and small. Okay. All right. Apaches from this far north must have reached the grasslands beneath the towering Chiricahua Mountains after the land recovered from the drought that drove the Mogollon people to abandon farming villages in the canyons by 1400. And 10,000 years after hunters speared mammoths and giant bison. There were four bands of Chiricahuas. Oh my gosh, I'd lose my place easily, man. Hold on, guys. There were four bands of Chiricahuas. The ones most important in this book, the Choconan, Red Cliff people, will be referred to simply as Chiricahuas or Apaches. They roamed the mountains of that name and valleys on both sides. Spanish expeditions, probably including Coronado in 1540, traveled up to the San Simon Valley to the Gila River. Even though they found no golden cities, the Spanish crown offered huge land grants to populate its frontier. And a few forts and missions were established, settlements and ranches were enthusiastically raided by Apaches and Jucones, who may have descended from Mogollons. They looted livestock, corn, clothing, and other good things. Trying to persuade the Indians to settle peacefully in their forts or missions in return for rations did not work, nor did the governor of Chiricahua's bounty of 100 pesos for each Apache scalp. Mexico won independence in 1820 but lost its war for Texas in 1836. 10 years later, a costly war with the United States ended with Mexico ceding all territory north of the Gila River and Rio Grande in February 1848. Only 8 days before the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, gold was discovered in California. Hey, Farlap, eat your broccoli. What's up, you guys? I got 4 in chat and 8 thumbs up, guys. Dang, I just had 10 in here. I just dropped 6. Oh, anyway. Thousand Sworn West, most taken route inside of the Chiricahua Mountains, land still part of Mexico. Need for a transcontinental railroad led to the Gadsden Purchase in 1853. The United States paid 10 million for the region from the Gila River to the yet be determined border, though Kit Carson declared the region so desolated, desert, and God-forsaken that a wolf could not make a living on it. The Apaches could not have welcomed the flood of 49ers, but it is said that Cochise's band furnished the Butterfield Overland Mail Station in Apache Pass with firewood. In 1861, the chief was mistakenly accused of kidnapping. He escaped, but soldiers hanged some of his relatives. Cochise's feud with whites coincided with the Civil War. The Butterfield state stopped running, troops were called east, and it might have seemed the intruders were gone. After the war in 1872, Cochise's friend Tom Jeffords induced the chief to make peace on condition that the Apaches could remain on a reservation that covered most of their customary range. Cochise died 2 years later. In 1876, the reservation was closed and the band sent to San Carlos. The above photograph the above photograph gives an unusual view of Cathedral Rock towering above the mouth of Cave Creek Canyon, named for its many caverns. The interiors of most larger caverns are blackened by centuries of fires that have warmed humans since the first wandered into this region after the Ice Age. The photograph below is of a Clovis culture amulet, skillfully crafted of flint, which was probably worn for success in hunting. Could the man who wore it have gazed from this opening to the opposite cliffs 1,200 years ago? Mammoth bones have not yet been found on the east side of the Chiricahuas, but they have been undiscovered to the west. Aw, thank you, broccoli. I appreciate that. Giant bison once roamed the grasslands between mountain ranges. This photograph is of a jawbone from one of them, exposed in a recent archaeological excavation at the Cave Creek, Cienega. The bone dates back to the hunter-gatherer Cochise culture. The beast may have been killed by projectile points like the one in the photograph below, as bison and mammoths became extinct either from overhunting and or an increasingly hotter climate that diminished grazing. Humans relied greatly on wild foods like seeds, berries, nuts, roots, and roasted agave hearts. Instead of the long spears of Clovis big game hunters, they used wooden throwing sticks to send light spears staking toward deer, antelope, and other quarry. Hunting was still important after big game was extinct, but wild foods were even more depended upon, and people moved according to the seasons when these ripened, living in caves or temporary shelters. Metates and manos like those in the above photograph were used in the Cochise culture to grind seeds and roots and more and better corn when the Mogollon culture began around AD 100 to 200. Trade with Mexico introduced pottery, squash, beans, and bows and arrows. These fed growing populations that settled where they could tend their crops. Villages thrived by about 1200 in the mouth of every suitable canyon. Scorching drought drove the Mogollons north by 1400. The photograph below is one of the Mogollon granaries where they stored corn and other food. The Apaches made similar caches. Sorry. And that's what they grinded all their stuff on here. That's where they started at. An Apache bride wears her beautiful clothing and jewelry in the 1886 photograph at right. Girls and boys played together until they were 5 or 6, but became shy of each other as they grew older. A marriageable girl might ask a boy she fancied to help her with some heavy task, or she could choose him as a dance partner. When she wrapped his blanket around her, it proclaimed their affection. If she accepted the bride gift given by the young man to her family, she rode to his camp. When she expected a baby, she was not coddled, but neither was she allowed to do hard work. As she knelt, gripping a stake, the most skilled midwife delivered the baby and performed the birth ceremony. The photograph below shows the cradle board into which the infant was strapped snugly and where it would spend most of the time until able to crawl. Two officers and two scouts rest at the Mud Springs outpost. Small detachments were often deployed to watch for raiders at watering places in this thirsty land. Hey, Mama Gnome, welcome in. Okay, Karen. Two officers and two scouts rested at the Mud Springs outposts. Small detachments were often deployed to watch for raiders at watering places in this thirsty land. General George Crook recruited scouts to track down Apaches who had fled the reservation. This is not treachery in that the various bands fought each other and allegiance was to individual groups and leaders. Despite her finery, the girl in this photograph looks pensive. The granddaughter of Cochise, she is probably the child of Naiche, chief of the Ch.1 and Chiricahuas after the death of Cochise and his eldest son, Taza. Naiche and Geronimo surrendered in Skeleton Canyon east of the Chiricahua Mountains in early September 1886. Like the Indians in this 1886 photograph, all the Chiricahuas who could be found, including Army scouts who had helped track the others down, were gathered at Fort Bowie as prisoners of war. On September 8th, taken in wagons the 11 miles to Bowie Station, they were put on a train to Florida, never to see their home mountains and valleys again. So they put them on trains and then they sent them to Florida. And that sucks, man. So to be moved away from your home. 49ers Stephen Reed and his father abandoned sluice boxes in California for hauling lumber to growing towns. Reed married, started farming, and fathered a son. When his wife died, he married a widow with an infant daughter. In 1875, the family moved to the Gila River where Reed's second wife died. He had never forgotten a green canyon he had glimpsed in the mountains on his way west 30 years ago. Hearing in 1876 that the Chiricahua Reservation was open, he took his son and stepdaughter south. In 1879, 4 densely wooded miles from the mouth of Cade Creek Canyon, they built the cabin in this 1890s photograph. Left for this one. The Reed cabin stood near a warm spring where the forks of Cave Creek join. In time, the family ate well from a garden, grains, chickens, cows, hogs, and a famed orchard. Reed married his 15-year-old stepdaughter, Isabel, in 1882. They had 5 children before she died in 1898. In this 1907 photograph, Reed is shown with, from left to right, Alice, Claudie, Walter, Bill, seated, and John Hans. Most of the Reeds are buried on a slope above the cabin. Wesley Stevens, eldest son, was there only shortly before he was joined by young Alfred Hans from Scotland. With his older brothers Frank and John, Alfred built a cabin at the Cape Creek Cienega while they prospected. He tended the goats. He was killed by a small band of Apaches in late March 1886. In 1882, Chief of Scouts Al Cyber recruited Sky Benanted, who served well on General Crook's 1883 Sierra Madre expedition. Sky Benanted rose to sergeant, and when a fracas broke out at San Carlos, Cyber trusted the scout to calm matters. Finding his father killed, the sergeant killed the murderer as was Apache custom. An enraged Sieber arrested Sky Benanted. He got away but turned himself in. Sentenced to prison, he escaped for good. Shown in this 1889 photograph, Sky Benanted terrorizes southeastern Arizona and was called the Apache Kid. Hey, Guitar Shocker! Hey, welcome in. Appreciate you guys all dropping in, man. That's very awesome of all you guys, man. Got the superstars in this chat. VIP. Neil Erickson was 22 in 1878 when he enlisted in the Army, partly to avenge the Sioux killing of his father. Shown in this 1883 photograph, Erickson volunteered for Southwest duty with the 4th Cavalry. After service in Texas and New Mexico, the sergeant was ordered to Fort Huachuca in 1884 and assigned to drive the wagon of an officer's Swedish housekeeper, Emma Peterson, to Fort Bowie. They married in 1887. The murder of Alfred Hans in 1896 is often blamed on the Apache Kid, but it could have been any of the bands who raided their old homeland from the Sierra Madre, where many fled to avoid exile. John's Hans would never speak of his brother's death. He and his brothers kept working their claim, and in 1915, Chicago investors paid $120,000 for it. Hans' monument picture faces the museum where he and amateur archaeologists stored his findings. In this circa 1910 photograph, Augustus Gus Chenoweth stands by the coach he bought when the California District stage line closed. A founder of Phoenix, when the Southern Pacific Railroad threatened his freighting business, Chenoweth took his team south to supply forts and mines. He was as quick with guns and fists as with his Bible. He offered a hut at the San Simon Cienega. He moved his family there and combined freighting with ranching and making whiskey. Making some whiskey. Yeah, well, that concludes the first chapter there, guys. Now, tomorrow we will be doing chapter 2, Hustlers and Rustlers. Yeah, man, I'm really liking these Images of America books. They've got several there at the library here. They had some about Tombstone, the Arizona Rangers. Uh, Man, the other one of Wilcox that I did, and yeah, those are pretty good, man. I love those, man. Hey, thank you guys, man. You guys are the what make my channel, man. You guys are all awesome. And how many people can say that to their subscribers? Not too many. But you guys are all awesome, man. You guys are all very supportive and very nice, man. It's always nice to have good people around you. But you guys have any questions, comments? Oh shoot, yeah, Matthew, those are awesome, right? Hey, Karen, you're awesome too. You rock. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got the clouds pushing over this way, so we'll take it out over here. Show you guys a little something. Hey, Joe and Misty Secret Garden. What's up, man? I just finished the first chapter of the book that I just did. It's the same kind of book that I was reading before. I got a water spot right over there. Yeah, got some rain coming in just all around. It's from right over here and hey, thank you, Mama Noma. I appreciate you. I'm glad you guys like this kind of stuff. Not too many people do, but you guys that I'll drop in and show your support and everything, that's very awesome of you guys. Yeah. Woo. Oh, yeah. I think I better wrap it up here because you can hear the thunder there. Hey, you know what? Shit, I'll go ahead and do it now while I'm here. There you go, Joe. You're always a moderator here, man. All right. All right, guys. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and shut it down, and we'll wait until tomorrow, unless I get some cop watching in tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Yeah, because I don't want to get caught in this rain heading back home. So I do appreciate you guys, and depending upon the weather tomorrow, we'll be back here doing chapter 2, guys, right here at the historic Railroad Avenue Park. That's Jose G, guys, right here in Wilcox, Arizona. Thank you, guys.